Having a good week? I want to tell you a little bit first about a webinar that's coming up on November the 26th. It's about site migration, and I'm doing it with our head of development, Jin Wu, and she's been with us, just celebrated her 6th year with us, actually. So Jin is, she's the genius behind me, actually. So Jin's going to be taking that along with me. I'll be asking Jin, basically I'll be interviewing Jin about site migration. And this is when you take an existing site and decide to move it to a new site, and you decide to change all the URLs and everything like that. That can kill you unless you do it properly. So this is Periscope people up here. If you look to me, if you see me talking up here, it's people on Periscope. So what can happen with a site migration is that it can actually kill a business if it's done badly, because Google will just not understand what you're doing and blow it away. And we've seen it happen to a number of businesses, and there's a number of horror stories out there. And we still see it happening to this day. So we're going to do a webinar on it, free webinar, Thursday, November the 26th at 11 a.m. And if you want to be part of that, I think we've only got 50 seats. I don't know, maybe 100. But if you want to be a part of that, then you just need to sign up to the newsletter at stuartmedia.com.au, and we'll make sure you get an email and let you know when that's on. Now, I've been doing a series of shows on doing SEO tweaks and using the product that I'm working on, which is the Bloggers SEO system, to show and to demonstrate certain things. And a few weeks ago, we did some tweaks on one client site, and it went up to number 1 yesterday, back at number 2 today. And that was simply by, you can see here, here's the graph. If we look at it over time, and this is the one that I showed you about a month ago, where when I started the project, this particular key phrase was outside the, it was about page 3, something like that. It went to number 1 yesterday, and then dropped back to number 2 today. But it's been at about number 2 for about the last 3 weeks. And that was simply by adding title elements, actually, to the target page. That's what I did a show on that, and how I was going to go and add all those title elements and alt tags and all those sorts of things. So that was just tweaking a target page. So that one went up to number 1, back at number 2. Hope to get it back up to number 1 in the next couple of days. The other one was the Healthy Thermomix. I did that, was it 2 weeks ago? Might have been last week, 2 weeks ago. It went up to number 4, and it went as high as number 3. Back at number 4 today. We'll get it back up higher. And this is kind of where I thought it would finish up, by doing the changes that we did. And the changes that we did were really interesting, that made this difference. And that was simply by changing the URL structure. Now, this is something common in a lot of WordPress sites, where, I'll just bring up our own one, where the URL structure, sometimes you'll see a URL structure where you'll have the domain name, and then you'll have archives, and then you'll have a date, or you'll have a date, and then you'll have the post name. This is the permalink structure. So you can change all that, and I would strongly advise that you do, but you've got to be careful how you do it. So for us, the best permalink structure is domain name, post name. That's it. Nothing in between. And that's what I did for Skinny Mixes, and she went from 9s and 10s to 4s and 3s by making that one change. Now here's the thing, here's the interesting thing. The target page that was ranking at number 9 and 10 and is ranking at 3 and 4 is the same target page, and it never had the date in the URL. So in WordPress, under your general settings, Bugger, it's going to make me log in. I won't go to that one. I'll go to another one. I won't show you on this one because I can't log in. I can, I just have to go and get the password. But in WordPress, under your permalink settings, you get an option where you can say what the URL structure or the permalink structure should be like. The one that works best is the one that is just domain name, post name. And we jumped, well, essentially 7 spots just by doing that. And didn't do anything else. That's all I changed, and it jumped up that much. Now, the change that we made didn't actually affect the page that was ranking. It just affected all the other pages around it. It affected all the other pages that were linking to our target page. So all that we can put it down to, and we do these things because we say, look, it's just makes more sense for the user to get rid of the date and all the rest of it. Because one of the things that can happen if you see a date in a URL, if it's an old date, you may not think it's current, right? So you may not click on it. So it can affect your click-through rate, which, as we know, can affect your ranking. Your click-through rate does have a bearing on your ranking. So by removing that date field in the URL, every other page on the site all of a sudden had more authority for the keywords that they were targeting. So each page had more authority. And then the upshot of that is that the page that it's linking to, our target page, also jumped up significantly. And what that equates to in traffic, I'll just show you that, making sure I don't show you. So what I'm showing here at the moment, people on Periscope, is what happens to the Google organic traffic. And the difference between, say, number 10 and up to number 3s and 4s. So I'm just going to take this back to when I started working on the site. So when I started working on this site, and Skinny Mixes is an awesome site. She's just doing gangbusters. And this traffic increase isn't solely what I've done. She's been doing a lot of work as well for getting the name out there and all those sorts of things. And there's a lot of brand-related search with Skinny Mixes. But when we started, we were getting about 1,800 to 2,000 sessions a day. And now we're doing 3,800 sessions a day. And you can see there's a spike there. That's when we hit page 1. No, this is when we hit page 1. And this is when we went up to number 4. So bump in traffic, getting on page 1, and then doubling from when we started. So this one little change can take you from top of page 2, bottom of page 1 to the top of page 1. Providing it, obviously everything else has to be right. But that surprised even me, getting that amount of a jump in traffic. I thought that was immense, huge, and pretty exciting actually. So you can do the calculations by yourself. I mean, what I would do normally if it was an e-commerce site, I'd say, okay, well, your e-commerce conversion rate is X%. If we increase traffic by Y%, then your revenue increase should be X. And there's simple calculations you can make. So that is significant because when I started doing this, her organic traffic has doubled, her direct traffic has not, and her referral traffic has not doubled in the same period. So certainly she's contributed to some of this traffic increase, but certainly been at numbers 3s and 4s for a really important key phrase. And of course, it's not just that key phrase. All related key phrases around that key phrase also get a bit of a boost as well. So that's why this notion of, hey, we're going to target 5 key phrases. No, we're going to target the whole site and optimize the whole site for the content that it has. And we're going to tell you how to write great content, or we're going to write great content for you. And as an effect of that, of doing all those things, all the traffic increases. It's not just, oh, these 5 phrases. So you might have some hero phrases, but the phrases are more about sensors to measure how the SEO is going. And that's it for this week's show. Hopefully that's helpful. See you next week. See you at the webinar. Thanks very much. Bye.